We'll now start the regular press conference by Foreign Minister Hayashi.
On the February the 21st, Russia signed the presidential decree to recognize independence, quote-unquote, of Donetsk People's Republic, quote-unquote, and Luhansk People's Republic, quote-unquote, and signed mutual assistance agreement on friendship and cooperation authorizing Russian troops to construct and use the military base, which are also inside the parentheses. The act violates Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity and international law. This is something which is intolerable. Japan condemns it. We will continue monitoring the situation with grave interest and work together with the international community, including G7, and coordinate on severe responses, including sanctions. That's it from me.
We will be taking questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and when you're designated.
Or rather, I had one more point to make at the outset. But today I plan to attend France EU co-sponsored Indo-Pacific Forum online. This meeting is under the initiative of France, which is a EU presidency for the first part of this year. Ministers from EU member countries and partners are expected to attend. Japan highly values the holding of such meetings and welcomes it. The situation of Ukraine is the most pressing issue of the moment. Japan is working in coordination with G7 countries, including the United States. Under these circumstances, the meeting is going to be held today, and Japan will formally speak about the importance of making steady progress in cooperation toward realizing free and open Indo-Pacific among Europe and like-minded countries who share basic value and principle and share Japan's view and efforts, opposing unilaterally changing to status quo by force, mindful of this region as well as responsive to Ukraine and elsewhere situation, and further strengthen our cooperation with relevant countries. That's it from me.
If you have a question, please raise your hand, and when you're designated, please step up to the microphone near you, and please state your name and affiliation before asking a question. Kaite-san from Mainichi Shimbun, please. Kaite from Mainichi Shimbun. Russia, President Putin, dispatching of Russian troops has been instructed. At foreign ministers of G7, they say that if there is to be an invasion, there's going to be a huge cost to be imposed, including sanctions. Now, Russia is saying that peacekeeping is the objective, but when they deploy forces in the pro-Russian region, this is invasion, and is this likely to invite sanctions?
As far as Japan is concerned, Japan reiterated that we are monitoring the situation with grave concern and continue working with G7 and the United States, inclusive of sanctions and inclusive of severe responses. Coordination will be made with them.
Next question, Aibara-san from Asahi Shimbun. Related to the earlier question, President Putin, peacekeeping troops are to be sent to Donbass. Now, when it goes into the eastern region, is this going to be regarded as invasion by the Japanese government when they send troops to the Donbass region?
You asked me a hypothetical question. I would refrain from making responses to the hypothetical question. As I said, we will watch closely the situation with grave concern, and we'll work in coordination with the international community, including G7, and coordinate on severe responses, inclusive of a sanction.
Next question, Sugimoto-san from Sankei Shimbun. This is going to be the last question because of limited time. Sugimoto from Sankei Shimbun. I have two related questions. First, about sanctions. Right now, the Japanese government has not yet decided to impose sanctions. Is that correct? Is my first question. And you talked about a conference you're going to attend hosted by France, but the US as well as Ukraine and other European countries, you have telephone conferences. You have any plans to hold such conferences, or Prime Minister has any plans for such conferences?
With regard to the sanction, as I said in my remarks, we will work in coordination with the international community, including G7, and coordinating severe responses inclusive of sanction. Also, with regard to Prime Minister, G7 leaders meeting will be held virtually, and Prime Minister Kishida plans to attend that and discuss the diplomatic policy inclusive of Ukraine situation. As for the Ukraine situation, on the February the 19th, the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting was held, and including the situation there. Based on that, various different angle discussion will be held at the leaders' meeting. Freedom, rule of law, and democracy, universal values are shared amongst the G7 countries, and we need to lead the international community, which is very important, and Japan would proactively take part in the discussion and make a proactive contribution. Well, about myself, I already said what needed to be said. Telephone meetings and such, the various coordinations are being made. But at this time, there is no fixed schedule on that.
Because of the next engagement, this conference is now being brought to a close. Thank you.